Hello. So I think I've signed this before, but I learned a new sign to the same word, and that word is stalking. So if someone's stalking you, so most of the time you would do stalking. They're following you, right? Following you. They're following you, or they could be in a car and following you, or they could be watching you. Got your two eyes. They're watching you, behind you. They're watching you. They're watching you at home or whatever. But the new one was this. It's a classifier. It can be something that's small or whatever, watching you. And that's with new technology. Now, they have technology to put in people's wheelchairs or backpacks or something like that. They're watching, like, where their children are going, or maybe if their relative has dementia or Alzheimer's or something, and so that way they know where they are. So, but then there's that criminal activity where people are using these little tags to put into a backpack or a coat or something like that. So it's new technology that's coming up, and so it's kind of just a little space. If you can see it, I'm showing you different angles. That's following someone, so they're stalking you. They have put in a camera that's hidden somewhere. It's on your phone, or it's on your clothing, a backpack or purse, or in your car or something like that, where they're stalking you, right? So the whole point of stalking is someone that's watching you, that's following you, whether it's virtually or if it's in person. Because back in the day, before that they had to stalk you or your car. You could even be walking and they're following in a car, or your car and they're following you in the car. Either way. Or stalking. I've always signed it this way, and I think most people understand that as stalking. But if it's they're going, no, I'm not following them, right? But it's stalking because it's electronic stalking, just like what people now do with that camera. They can cover up the the camera if they're not using it for a meeting or something like that, so that they're not being seen or being watched. So I thought that was an interesting way of, of signing that. I guess I never thought about that. I've always done it this way. And so that I thought I would share that, because that's going on so much now with, cyber crime, cyber stalking, and people can stalk you via that way. So I think that's, it's just creepy, right? So and we have already done gaslighting before in a previous, but since we've gone on to those signs, let's do some of that too. So your non-dominant hand, it's like a closed X, like this is X and this is closed X, so it almost is an in between of an X and an A hand shape, right? So this with your non-dominant hand. And with your right hand, you can do this. Now, some people do it differently. I think I showed you last time was this, but it can be directional, like this or like this, whatever. But then I've also seen the sign where they do this and then hold it, like they gotcha. They're just kind of making you believe something that's not true, and they gotcha. So if some people don't know that sign, then you would explain what it is they're trying to make you believe something that's not true. Also, there's consent. Now, normally when I've done consent, it's usually like a legal matter. So you're signing your consent. I'm consenting or agreeing to this particular, like a loan or something like that, or some procedure in medical sense that you're signing your consent. So it's like a signing it. So the consent form. So all the forms, you sign it. Consent. So it's done that way. And also with the stalking now, and so I thought I would expand that more to consent to something like if they are gaslighting you, they go, well, they agreed to it, right? Or it was a consensual. So consent can mean something different in that manner. So you could say agree, willing. That person was in agreement, and that person was in agreement, and they willingly did whatever, the crime, or maybe some sort of assault or something like that. We were watching some crime show, and there was, an incident that happened, and so they're going, well, no, they were willing. They had an ad, and found out someone else had put the ad in. So you can do agree, willing, and that's more clear. So you can do consent. Well, they agreed to it. They were willing to do it. But they said it's more clear to do agree, and willing. Because I think I have done they're willing to do that, or they've agreed to do that. Something that I just thought that was enough. But they said, like in something that's major or more sensitive, it should be that person agreed, and they were willing to do that. So, oh, no, or yes, or whatever the case may be. So, and then it says when it came to sensitive, just like there's been a video, kind of a big controversy about the N word, that it's derogatory, and that interpreters have been, in a sense, neutral. We're just a voice, to either a hearing person or to a deaf person. And so we would do that sign. And now there have been some deaf people, especially African American, black deaf people, they use the sign for black instead of African American. They have said don't use the sign for the N word. Just instead use N word, the N word. So you do an N, and then you do the sign for word, N word. So, and not to sign it. So I'm not going to show you, so you'll use it. So just do N word. And so not to use that. Also, another sensitivity would be rape, and there is a sign for that. It is very strong, but it can trigger people. So they advise to spell it. And also, I used to do a lot of counseling, interpreting, and even in the prison system. I've done several mental health hospitals, and so the sign for that triggers me, or it triggers a response if you see, like if a counselor says, what are your triggers, or something like that. And so your left hand or your non-dominant hand is the person, and then here's the trigger. And that's usually used for like signal, and it's the same meaning, signal or trigger. It's an old sign and it's still used. What is triggering you? Or, oh, I noticed it triggers you. Oh, does that word trigger you? Right? So that is, if you've seen that or used that, it's still in force. So trigger, it also means to signal. I do that also when I'm doing like a health appointment, when they're talking about their head is triggering the nerve or the muscle, so it triggers. It's a signal. So it's a mental trigger, if you will, and so a mental trigger for PTSD, that kind of thing. Trauma. I've always done trauma with the X hand shape across the head, but because some people, it doesn't necessarily, it's not a mental thing, but it's a physical, it's a emotional response, which mostly that's what trauma is. But you can have trauma, physical trauma, or you can have emotional trauma. So so you have both X hand shapes. Your dominant hand, the hand you write with, is going to go over your head, and then your non-dominant hand is going to go across the chest at the same time. So this one right here and this one right here. So PTSD could be trauma. It could also be trauma, if they want to be specific. But the sign for trauma is that way. So I think that kind of really covers, and you may never use these signs, but you may. You may have, a deaf friend, or it's a hearing friend, and there's a lot more trauma or that people discuss nowadays, and so I think that is a good thing to know. PTSD, you can spell it, but it's also a trauma. And I might even say I've had a lot of trauma, PTSD. I might voice that for someone, so you just never know what is going on, because a crisis is the same as chaos. And I think I've already shown this for crisis before previously. Crisis. a crisis. So you've had a crisis happen, and now you have PTSD. So anyway, practice and discuss it with your friends, deaf and hearing, and whenever you're listening to someone or watching something, kind of think about these signs that you may use. And watch the videos again and again and again. And remember, I've numbered them so you can go all the way to the bottom where it starts at the basic, and then it just kind of works, and adds to it and up and up and up. So I will see you later. Practice. Bye.